It's a fact you're not here. You ain't even real, but you still bring me fear. You make my bones so tired that my soul stands up. But now I'm starting to need to bleed to fill this cup. It's like I'm starting to need to bleed to fill this cup. Oh.
Hi, everybody, and welcome back to The Working Wing, the podcast where every week we bring you news from around the country and around the world from our unique working leftist perspective. My name is Tim Schultz, and joining me, as always, my dear friend, longtime debate partner, and a man who works with his hands, who sweats from his hands, who has blood in his hair, Killian Collins.
Thank you, Tim. It's so good to be here. I feel like singing.
It's a day for singing. It's a week for singing.
It's a week for singing, and I'll tell you what. You know, every time people do karaoke in the movies, it looks like so much fun.
It looks like so much fun. We've always seen it in the movies. I have actually never done karaoke either. I feel bad to admit that I am at like a similarly socially stunted level of Connor Roy, but
that's interesting.
I've never been out to karaoke.
Damn, we should all do. Damn, that would have been a great thing to do in LA. It would have been like a little fun thing. A proper. I mean, I don't know. Karaoke. It's funny because we'll get to it in that episode. We'll talk about karaoke.
But anyway, section talk later. But the reason for singing, the reason for dancing, is that this week, for the first time in 15 years, the Wisconsin Supreme Court has got a liberal majority.
Finally. I mean, and as like two leftists like ourselves, they're not with our politics entirely. Janet, Janet is not some like she's not out there with this hammer and sickle or anything like that. She believes in a woman's rights to choose, and she will return our legislative mass to something resembling sanity. Yeah, I mean, we'll still get past we're still a while away from a rational society, but like it's a small step forward in a long little history of leaps backwards, starting from 2010. That was my first election, and I remember the recall, Tim, that because I remember I lived in Milwaukee partially, but then like came home for the summer, but I couldn't vote in Appleton for that election. So I remember calling you on my way home as we were hearing the results going, oh my God, like Wisconsin's so fucked. Like the recall. And the thing that sucked about the recall is he won by double digits.
He did. It really solidified him on his way to re-election in what would that have been? 2014. Yep.
And then the Republicans just had it for a while. They just got to like run rank over it. I think they had like Mary Burke run, and she was another kind of like a person who doesn't stand for the unions or anything like that. She was taking the safer approaches out. She was kind of a part of that Overton window shifting to the right a little bit more, of just trying to gain more of those voters that they had lost by turning to the right more, which I think is the wrong move.
We will get to that, I think, when we talk about the Chicago mayoral election. But
that's a good.
Yes, this is a good starting point. Janet won. So a couple of notes I have highlighted that I found interesting. This was the second double-digit loss for Daniel Kelly. This was a Janet won 55-45. In a state where no state election is that kind of margin, except when Dan Kelly is involved over the past 10 years. I remember actually, so in 2010 when all of that was going down, I remember there was a Supreme Court election not long after that I think the conservatives won by, I want to say it was less than 500 votes.
Really?
I was taking a political science class at that time, and there was like one day when like no one really showed up for class, and the professor was like pissed off, so he like wrote the percentage by which the conservative won that election on the board, and it was like 0.00015% of the vote. And he was like, write that number down at the bottom of your next quiz and you'll get a bonus 10% because you guys showed up. yeah, like whenever I think of Wisconsin Supreme Court elections, I think of that moment. But
no, I mean, it comes
was,
down to that 500 meaning a lot. Like,
right. And in comparison to that, this was a landslide,
mm-hmm.
a landslide victory. Democrats have money in this state. Like that's a big takeaway. We outspent. I say we. Democrats outspent Republicans 25 million to about 19 million, and a lot of that 19 million was poured in the last second on the conservative side, as I think they started like reading the polls a little bit.
Yeah, and yeah, there's been kind of a back and forth. Well, before I get into this, yeah, seeing like certain counties, like our home county, like Outagamie County, like that turning blue for the Supreme Court justice, Green Bay, and even states, even counties that are more red, like
right. So yeah, in addition to the Supreme Court election, there was also a special election for Wisconsin Senate District 8,
mm-hmm.
which is Washington County, Waukesha, Ozark County, and that is a reliably
red.
Like Walker would win those districts by like 65%
mm-hmm.
in his elections, and I think in this one, so for that Senate election, it ended up being a typical Wisconsin, 50 to 49% of the vote.
Mm-hmm.
That Wisconsin, those are the rich white people. Those are the rich white Milwaukee suburb areas right there, and they are turning like way more blue than they were just a couple years ago.
Well, just the fact that it was like competitive in this race is like that's a big shocker and takeaway. That's like kind of the things in the national question where it's like that's what started turning Virginia from a red state to a blue state. Is you kind of saw like more of an influx. It was small at first, but it grew and it grew and it grew. And I mean, Wisconsin's always kind of been a reliable swing state. It showed with the election in the fall that like, hey, Tony Evers getting reelected, but Mandela Barnes losing the Senate race.
Yeah, it's like, though, you actually have to come to Wisconsin and play smart politics.
Yes,
which I think the Democrats did in this election here.
Mm-hmm. Well, the Republicans
they played dumb. The Republicans played dumb. They ran a candidate who had lost by like 15% of the vote,
like Tom Barrett.
and well, yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
but Dan Kelly had lost in 2020 by like 10 or 12% of the vote, and Republicans actually spent a lot of money in the primary on Dan Kelly to make sure Dan Kelly was the conservative candidate, which doesn't. It really like it is these MAGA types just throwing money at bad candidates has been a trend.
Well,
like Tim Michaels had a lot of that MAGA money behind him as well, and it's bad politics because people do not like these guys.
Yeah, for them, I think it's more of a question of loyalty than it is any like electability or any of those other factors that.
Oh yeah, for sure.
That like serious political stuff it gets into is
they wanted a guy on the Supreme Court who would overturn a slate of electors if they needed it.
Yes, yeah, and that's like that's a status quo that. Well, I mean, it's not that. I think like the bigger issue. I mean, not for Republicans, but for Democrats overall was the was like the fate of Roe versus, well, not Roe versus Wade. It's the ruling of Roe versus Wade and the fact that like Wisconsin like has an abortion restriction and the fact
it has not just an abortion restriction, but one of the most austere abortion restrictions in the country that we passed in 1845.
Yeah, but 1845.
Yes, 1845, or by 1855.
I was going to say like, it was 1845. That's before the state.
1848 is when we became a state. So I think it was in the 1850s that
we.
Slavery was still the law of the land when we passed our abortion law.
It's still way too fucking old. It's like 170-year-old law, like about there. If it's not 170 years old, it's getting there, but. Still like way too strict of a law, but it's essentially this is the only tool that's possible that at least available right now that is able to at all counter that restriction. That's all able to make any sort of dent whatsoever. No, who's to say like what will actually happen in there? You know, there's all sorts of dirty tricks that can be played because the Republicans still control the state Senate. They've had
and actually they gained a 2/3. So yes, that's the other election that happened in Wisconsin, the special election in Senate District 8. The Republican candidate won by like 51%.
Thin though.
Yeah, and so what this gives them the ability to do is impeach officials, because you need a majority vote in the House to impeach, and then you need a 2/3 majority in the Senate to convict. But I don't understand. There might be some like next level shenanigans afoot or ahead for us in the state. But like the thing about it is that like, say they want to impeach Tony Evers, like a big sign on Green Bay Road here in Kenosha was exhorting us to all throughout 2020. Say they impeach, then who's our current lieutenant, the lady who replaced Mandela Barnes as lieutenant governor, she would become the governor.
Yeah.
And if they want to impeach Judge Janet, then Tony Evers would get to appoint her replacement.
Okay.
So there's a limit to what they can do with it. I saw some people on Reddit were, doom spiraling into conspiracies of like they could impeach Scott Walker or not Scott Walker. They could impeach Tony Evers and then just delay his trial for months, and he would be unable to like act as governor during that time.
Yeah.
They could get up to some nonsense like that.
Yeah. Jeez. That sucks.
So there could be some next level shenanigans ahead for us, but if there are, we will be here to rail about them into the void.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, rail them right into the void. I think it's a good like transition to go into like our second little victory lap is there's now a new mayor in the second biggest the biggest city around us.
Yeah,
well, there was a city in the United States, but it's the biggest city around us. Like not Milwaukee, but Chicago has a new mayor. They kicked out the old limousine liberal Lori Lightfoot.
Yeah, and Brandon Johnson is a union man, a progressive, a former school teacher who has like worked his way up the political system, and he is a defund the police guy.
Yes, I was gonna say to him like he's the person I've seen who's got elected who's rolled back on it more than like other candidates have.
Right.
Which is like
he has rolled back a bit. He's like, I'm not gonna actually cut the police budget, but he's going to divert future funding increases into other programs other than the police.
And here's the thing, that's like 100%. Like I'm completely on board with that, because like that's the type of thing where I'm like, because the defund the police thing, like as a concept, like most people agree with it who are sane. Like the only people who are against the concept, even when it's like fully like de-scarified for them, are like hardcore conservatives who want everyone to live in a fascist state, like who basically think that like, well, yeah, like, of course they crucified Jesus, he was breaking the law, that's fine, like that's what he deserves. Like, those are those type of ultra law and order types. But anyone else rational in this country, I feel like really would understand that. Yes, I think it makes more sense to have like these funds like that like are required to maintain their tanks that they have here, which some people would say they're not tanks, but they're giant armored vehicles that like follow people around to make sure people don't commit crimes while they ignore other crimes.
Like the equipment that the National Guard rolled out in August of 2020 here in Kenosha, those definitely looked like tanks to me.
Yeah,
I don't care if they were actually tanks or not. What they had parked in the parking lot of the Quick Trip definitely looked like a goddamn tank.
Oh, you can believe him. If you and me were driving that fucking thing around, oh yeah, the authorities would call that thing a fucking tank. Like, oh my God, would they call that shit a tank? Like, so, I mean, I'm just gonna play by the same rules that like they're gonna like, convict me of. So like that's where we're at with this fucking piece of shit police state. But anyway, yeah, Brandon Johnson, it is like I'm still trying not to like build the guy up too much because it still is like, okay, he's a progressive for whatever that means right now, for as much as that like that term has been like butcherized, like what that means in American politics. Like, technically Kamala Harris is calling herself a progressive when it's like ha ha ha, ha
right,
yeah,
but like Brandon Johnson, at least, he
walks the talk. Yeah. Well, he walks the walk and talks the talk a lot more than AOC or like anyone else in the squad like I'm seeing do any of this shit. But but that's the thing. Credit where credit's due. He got elected on these things that some progressives have been harping on, and then even like backed up less than these other ones have, and still had the political pressure with him to be able to advance to mayor.
Right. I like in all the headlines I keep on seeing, Chicago repudiates, conservative talking points on crime. And I would have to say what he really repudiates is Joe Biden's line on crime.
Yes.
I mean, Joe Biden has been shifting hard right on crime over the past few months. When he vetoed the DC crime bill and various comments that he's made. And I think Brandon Johnson shows that no, you can be progressive, you can be reasonable, and actually look at like the data about crime and go off of that instead of just saying, nope, we need more people in jail and more cops on the street. That's the only way to tackle crime.
Yeah.
And you can actually get votes that way.
Yes, you can, because people finally see that there's a change that's needed. So, and it feels really good to genuinely say, well, let's go, Brandon.
Let's go, Brandon. Let's go, Brandon. It's not ironic on any level. Let's go, Brandon.
Although I still do mean fuck Joe Biden when I say it too. But I'm also cheering for Brandon Johnson now when I say this. Like, there's actually a person named Brandon who I'm cheering for when I say this. I just hope Brandon. I just hope he doesn't piss us off. But that's the thing. He's been a union guy thus far.
Right. Well, and that's the thing is that he probably will piss us. He's a mayor of a large city, and historically that means that the coalition that votes for him next time is going to look different than what voted for him this time.
Oh yeah, and
I think it seems like a lot of it was people really did not like his opponent.
Yep.
Paul Vallet, who was really I don't like this. I mean, a dino. He's basically a pretty far right Republican who calls himself a Democrat, so that he can be
like an average Democrat.
Yeah, so that he can be involved in Chicago politics.
Right.
Because you need.
I mean, and that's the type of thing that Overton, they're a part of that neoliberal Democrat that went with the shift to the right and helped push the Overton window because they think that's electable, as opposed to standing with any issues that they actually genuinely care about.
Right.
They just want to be in politics. So they
and from the ACAB corner, one of the things that that really seemed like it made a dent in the polling here was that Vallis did a big photo op and endorsement with the head of the police union.
Yeah.
And then the head of the police union was like, yeah, the streets are going to run with blood if Brandon wins. And
that guy,
he was making just those, great cop. You always love when a cop threatens violence,
right? Yeah,
on the city if he doesn't get his way.
And I guess
happens all the time in American politics.
And it's funny, because I guess those ACAB people really just kind of looked at those angry Reddit comments and those angry MSNBC commentators and said, basically they were looking at the people who were looking at them while there was writing, and they're going, how many of these people do you think are going to vote actually? And it turns out a lot of them do.
I think the head of the police union even said, if Brandon Johnson wins, 1,000 cops are going to walk off the job immediately. And the people of Chicago were like, all right, let's do it.
Let's see it, bud. Hey, that's what we're going for, man. Do his job for him, man. Hey, man, do it. But and that's the thing. It's like we're optimistic right now. We can wave the red and black flag and just go like, "Yep, it's a slow churning." But we also are going to be hyper aware of the reality in front of us, of the realities that Brandon Johnson will have to face, of how this politician will have to change.
Yeah.
But we're here to rock with that boat. We're here to kind of like look at what's going on, comment on it. If there's a narrative that like is completely false that they're trying to push, we're there to call it out. We're like, that's what we're here to do. But right now we're going to fucking gloat. We're going to celebrate. I don't want to show Dan Kelly's face anymore because he's not going to be around. But I did want to mention that when Daniel Kelly had his resignation speech, or his his
concession speech.
Yeah, his concession speech, where he basically thanked all his campaign contributors, and then said like, but my opponent is a big old meanie poopy head, and she didn't actually win, and she's not worthy of anything, and it's really funny.
Well, actually, he admitted that she won, which is something that he's been. I mean, his main job over the past 3 years has been fighting in court for people who didn't want to say that their opponents won.
Yeah.
But he said they won, but he basically said that we're all dumb fucks for voting for her.
Yeah.
So we've chosen the rule of Janet over the rule of law, and he wished us luck because we're gonna need it.
Well, it's good, Dan, because you're also gonna like probably move out like you always fucking do and look for a different place where you can like try and contribute to like your evil Republican agenda. But hey, man, it was good to know that like you lost to an unworthy opponent. It's good to know because that means that you're fucking worthless because you are, and I hope that I hope one day that you just you're completely irrelevant. Like, yeah, you're more irrelevant than us. Hopefully.
Yeah, I mean, there's still an entire chance that he's back before the Wisconsin Supreme Court arguing to throw out a slate of electors in 2024.
Yeah. Yeah, well,
that is definitely in the range of possibilities.
It is, unfortunately.
But yeah, speaking of judicial corruption,
yeah, that's
big news today from the Supreme Court about the Supreme Court.
Yeah. I don't know what article shared it, but there's a little expose.
I first saw it. I think it came from ProPublica, the original reporting. But ProPublica found that Clarence Thomas. So we've all quietly known that like Clarence Thomas is best friends with this right-wing billionaire Republican activist and has been for decades.
Yeah.
The New York Times has covered this. He's put some portion of the many, many extravagant gifts and vacations that he's received from this man in his disclosures. But what ProPublica found is that Clarence Thomas has violated the law multiple times throughout many years by failing to report, luxury yacht trips and luxury jet trips and stays at a like elite resort owned by this man's like holding corporation.
Yeah, and all things that like go beyond the realm of just like a simple like a friend hosting another friend, or obviously the type of stuff that would be the type of thing to that's an expensive and nice enough gesture that would curry some implied political favor. Because the limits, honestly, like already on these laws are already pretty high, where it says like you can accept gifts and stuff up to the value of $415, which I thought like that's pretty fucking high for my.
Well, I don't know. These rich people are like crazy,
Fuck these rich. No, fuck that. Dude.
They like to give each other like bottles of brandy that are worth more than that.
That's money that, I mean, like shit. Like my mom gave me $75 for my fucking birthday, and it's like these guys can get like a nightly gift of $415. You give me a fucking break, man. Like that. I mean that's one of those things we want money out of politics. That's like one of those things like immediately we gotta get rid of.
Yeah.
Like, no, like I'd rather like you should be living like a pauper. Like you got into Congress, like you're rich, right? So I mean, you say obviously you fucking don't. Yeah, you can pay for your own shit.
No, don't worry, Killian. The Supreme Court decided in 2010 that only quid pro quo arrangements are actually corruption, and no other form of corruption exists. So it's fine. Clarence Thomas actually said
Got
that.
to rule on that.
Yeah, there is no form
Very
of corruption
convenient.
in the world other than quid pro quo payments.
I wonder where Anita Hill is right now. Just like wondering, just wondering, yeah, I tried to just I tried to warn you, and then you guys forgave the guy who wouldn't let me testify about him. You guys let him get away with all that fuck shit. and now we're here and
after all that, Clarence Thomas still got more confirmation votes than any possible justice could today.
Fucked.
He was still confirmed by 80 votes.
Yeah, that's fucked. But I mean, hey, if they would have had that testify, well, that's the thing. That's the sad part about it, is that I don't even know if Anita Hill's testimony would have changed all that. It might have. I hope it would have, but I don't know.
But we're stuck with him. I know. Unless I hope Congress at least I hope AOC was called for an impeachment, at least introduce the bill. At least introduce a bill moving to impeach Clarence Thomas.
Well, I can see this, especially with compared to the last impeachments. I'm I see way more of a case here because the person
there's way more of a case
is actually here in this office and doing this shit, and it's affecting all these laws that have to do with corruption and bribery. I mean,
there is a law and he violated it.
Yes,
right. Many times over multiple years.
Isn't there doesn't that violate a judge's ethical standard of good behavior?
Here's the thing. Here's the key reform that needs to happen. While every other level of the federal judiciary and pretty much every level of every state judiciary has codes of ethics that their members have to follow, the Supreme Court does not have any defined ethical code.
Oh.
There is no federal statute whatsoever defining ethical guidelines for the Supreme Court.
Yeah, that's so what the fuck are these fuckheads gonna write up for themselves? That's the question.
That's been the only thing of either Congress needs to step in and impose a code of ethics on the Supreme Court, or it has to come from the court. And that's not going to happen.
That's not going to happen. Yeah. Damn. If only there was a more of implication, because I mean,
there has to be more leaking. The Roe v. Wade leak was huge because that just doesn't happen. But I've been listening to this podcast about the Supreme Court.
From, those guys
from 3 left-wing lawyers. And some of the stuff they talk about, a guy who was friends with one of the. Oh no! Was that a cat? Was that friendly fire from the cat?
No, that was me.
Oh, okay.
You can continue, my friend.
But one of the hosts of that podcast was friends with a person who clerked for the court during the Gore v. Bush decision, or Bush v. Gore, because Bush was the plaintiff. But basically, it said that clerk told him in confidence that he saw the memos that Rehnquist and Kennedy and Scalia were sending amongst each other in the lead up to the Bush v. Gore decision. And this clerk was saying it was naked. They were talking nakedly and openly that they did not care about what reasoning they had to adopt. They were going to deliver the election for Bush.
Yeah. I mean,
if those documents ever got out, it would be huge. But there is such a code of secrecy and silence around the Supreme Court that just makes any kind of reforms there incredibly hard to consider mounting.
Real democratic, right? Really. I mean, I don't know. There's some cats I've talked to who are abolition of the Supreme Court, but we ain't ready to talk about that yet.
Well, I mean, you need the function that the Supreme Court plays is a necessary one in any judicial system. I feel you if it's not the Supreme Court, you need some court that is the court of last resort, the highest court in the land.
The one to rule over the bad decisions of the smaller courts. The last one in line that like still says, okay, this is the final frontier. If you get past it here, I mean, and that's the thing, you're gonna have that in any.
Yeah, so I would be willing to consider a whole wide range of reforms to the Supreme Court, but the body itself is kind of structurally necessary.
Yeah, and I'm not necessarily like, I think some of these cats are kind of talking more about like getting rid of who they have on the bench right now and having a new process of putting new justices in, and then like how you keep that system and how you want to change that, how you want to reform it to be different than the old court. That's how I would figure. That's what I think I mean by abolish, is I think they want to get rid of the justices that are on there now, which honestly I wouldn't. I'd be fine clean slating it too, but I feel like to have that be like accepted, it has to be more. It's got to be more of an even split too, and it's still going to be cantankerous with that, because it's like whoever holds the slim majority is going to be mad that it's all being taken away. But this all has to be done constitutionally too, ideally. Like
ideally, right?
Yeah.
I mean, ideally.
But I mean, honestly, all these constitutional rules usually come into effect when people, mainly politicians, are going along breaking these fucking rules or not taking them seriously or not. And this happens in many different forms of democracy, like throughout history. Happened in Rome a hell of a lot, where people were like, fuck this rule, like I'm not going to follow it anymore. What are you going to do about it?
Yeah.
Oh, literally, you have nothing to like counter it. Okay, I'm just going to do this. Like, okay. Like what? So I mean that's how it's kind of like the rule of like how bank security is the way it is. It's like, well, they got robbed a whole bunch of times and they discovered ways to make the robberies a lot harder.
Yes.
Or even with like the structure of American democracy, that's like what those people at the time were like, well, here's the mistakes that were made in the past, and here are some ideas and checks and balances to accommodate that, which I think are like, that's a smart idea. I just think the problem with our government right now is that we don't have checks and balances to implement in today to like, achieve the same purpose that like the idea of these checks and balances were to have in the past.
Yeah.
It's you have institutions that have too much power and no way to counter it.
Like the Supreme Court, for example.
Exactly.
Yeah, the podcast I was talking about, I actually just started listening to tonight, and I've been really enjoying it. The 5 to 4 podcast.
5 to 4 podcast. Shout out to
5 to 4 podcast. Shout out to you guys. Of course, the only media outlet you really need is right here on the Working Wing. But if you do happen to be looking for something else, you can check out the good folks at the 5 to 4 podcast.
I encourage y'all to listen to as many of these as possible. I like to thank the one Fed on Twitch watching us. If you are a Fed,
we have a loyal listener, and Killian is just going to always call either it's a bot, a Fed, or maybe a loyal listener. And if it's a loyal listener, then I love you. But
God salute, like God love you, loyal listener, like loyal listener / Fed. I mean, the Feds are the most, but I mean, at the end of the day, the Feds are the most loyal listeners. I mean, like they're listening to you when you think nobody else is. I mean, honestly.
You could turn that into like one of those like inspirational Facebook posts that's like with the right formatting. It's like, find you someone who listens when you think no one else is.
Like the TSA.
Find yourself a Fed.
Yeah.
Find yourself an NSA agent.
Yes. They'll listen to you for fun, and also look up all their exes and see what they're up to.
Yes.
Speaking of taking out your personal problems out into your business or place of work, we just watched the second episode of the 4 seasons of Succession.
Yes, indeed.
And after a kind of ramble route explanation of the first episode last week, where we kind of just blanket covered a bunch of shit from like the previous 3 seasons and how we felt about the first episode, the premiere of the 4th season. We've now watched honestly one of my favorite episodes of the season so far.
So I have a quick little like a 3-sentence recap here. The kids let their business ADHD run wild.
Yeah.
Logan goes full Murdoch at ATN.
Attaboy.
Greg does the job with Carrie. Connor has a totally fun, totally normal rehearsal dinner. And then the Roy family goes to karaoke.
Tim, I like your little short recap. I think it's a lot better than my old working wings where I jump into what's happening, each little thing there. But no, I like the little recap. It's a nice I'm sorry, it gives us a nice little formula to go off of too.
Yeah. So so we open up and the kids are watching their new acquisition peers or their possible new acquisition peers.
Yep.
And Kendall proposes the international station. All Africa, all the time, from sub-Saharan West to sub-Saharan East.
Sounds like an Adderall idea to me, but
it really does. It really does. It's like, and it's just like, so I listen to a lot of these Succession analysis shows that are out there. I have like 3 of them that I listen to, and it's always funny to me because it seems to me like right now here at the start of season 4, a lot of these I hate to throw around the term like elitists, but these elitists are finally man, these 4 entitled billionaire nepo babies, they might just not be any of them any good at business.
Yeah,
I'm starting to think that all of them are just really bad at the thing they've done their entire lives.
Yeah,
weird. It's like yeah, no, to me that's been obvious from I think that's the central theme of the show is that nobody who exists in that world is actually competent or worthy of being there, because there's no such thing as being worthy of being the heir to billion-dollar fortunes and running these global spanning media empires. Those things shouldn't exist at all. And the fact that they're in charge of it has nothing whatsoever to do with their qualifications or worth as human beings.
No, has much more to do with royalty and heritage and lineage and capitalism.
Right. And so a lot of these shows still waste time being I don't know. I think Roman might be the best at business, so I think he'll probably come out on top. And it's no, I think the idea that the show has always been leaning towards is that none of these kids are worthy of being on top. None of these kids. You are not serious people, you bunch of dopes, says Logan, and he's right.
Deeply unserious people. which is a term that when he said that, I thought of politics immediately. I'm oh yeah, sometimes fellow comrades, sometimes other politicians I slightly rely on, sometimes opposition, where I look at them and I go, holy shit, you are so not serious.
Right. And you see it we saw it last week. They had spent months on the startup and they throw it away immediately for peers. Yep. You see, this week they're sitting down to brainstorm what they do about peers, and they immediately get sidetracked with the question of should we fuck our dad or not?
Yeah.
And then they're ADHD kids. They're ADHD riddled nepo babies who are not serious people. So then, speaking of Logan and the politics, he really did go full Murdoch. In that
when he went to APN and
you get that great
I love the quote. I love the quote that Greg had of he's if Santa Claus was here, but if he was a hitman.
Yes, that one. And then he's it's like Jaws. If everyone in Jaws worked for Jaws.
Just that's a terrifying concept.
That's a terrifying concept, but it's so true. And and so then he gets up on this platform of printer paper shouting, "You are fucking pirates!" And
I loved that where he's
that was amazing. What a great speech!
No, I liked how it's he still tried to connect with those humble roots and be oh no, I'm a man just like you guys, but when I do talk to you, I'm gonna talk on a platform.
I do need a platform
on a shitty makeshift like boxy platform. I want to know. Okay, like there's this moment there because like Tom is like hardcore, just like some real ass licking from Tom there, like some lovely stuff, some lovely acting from all the ATN staff in there of like people really trying to kiss ass. But there's a comment that like Tom makes to like Roy to Logan as he gets up on the boxes and the company is cheering and like Tom says something and I can't hear what he said.
Oh no, I have it written down. What he says is because Logan standing on his little platform makes him the same height as Tom. And so Tom looks over and he's like, I could give you a little kiss from here.
Oh my fucking God.
And Logan just like looks at him. You can see, I don't know, maybe that might have been like an improvised line in the moment because I could see like a little smile.
I know,
on
I can see that too. I can see that too.
He was also trying to like keep his like pissed off intense look, but like a little smile.
Because like it's almost like the actor himself is like Brian Cox is just saying like, dude, shut the fuck up or you're gonna like burst out like that. Like fuck you. But also that plays into like the fuck you of just that stare of like you fucking dope. Like you shut dope. Up.
Yeah.
But no, with a great tyrant boss speech saying that he's gonna be there forever, looking over their shoulders.
He's gonna rip their heart. Yeah, he wants people who will rip their hearts out. I love what he says about what he wants ATN to be. I think he's said it before in his approach in the news. But he's like something so spicy, so true. The thing everyone thinks, but no one says because they don't have the cojones.
Yeah,
and like this is exactly what happened with Rupert Murdoch.
Yeah,
when he sold the bulk of News Corp, he spun off Fox News, and ever since that deal, he was running it directly, just like Logan says he's going to do with ATN. And where you're fucking pirates, like, and the so spicy, so true stuff leads in the real world is to this, $2 billion lawsuit that Fox News is about to is being hit with right now. So like, I'm honestly, this is the last season of Succession. And I think that's a good thing. But like, there are things of like, man, if this were going to be 7 seasons, would we get to see the $2 billion ATM lawsuit when they deny the results of this upcoming election in the show?
Yeah. yeah, we still have that to look forward to. We were kind of expecting like an election.
Yeah, I think I'm less sure that we're gonna get like the full fallout of the election here in this show. But honestly, I don't know how they're gonna. I feel like we might be in for a time jump at some point. I think
there's already been a little bit of a time jump from season 3 to 4. Like it
feels like there was a few months for sure.
Yeah, like it feels like it wasn't directly after Tom's betrayal where they just.
No, I think it was like I think they said it was like 5 or it's like when the kids are talking at the beginning of last episode, they're like, yeah, we spent months, lining up this new startup idea.
Yeah.
The Substack meets Substack meets Twitter meets the New York Times.
God, yeah, their weird fucking little concoction that they're trying to blow up. Well, anyway, while Logan is and Tom are there at ATN, Tom asks Greg to do a little bit of dirty work because basically Logan's trying to get his assistant / hot little piece of tush that he likes to pull.
His assistant wants to be an ATN anchor.
Yes,
and I'm honestly like, so from the beginning when Logan first talks to Sid and Tom about that. I am honestly, at that point, I've watched it like 3 times. I am still not sure where Logan was at on that decision when he first talked to them. Because his line to them at the end is just like, I'll leave it up to you 2 geniuses, which is such a like inscrutable, shitty boss thing to say.
Yeah. But I think he was honestly, I'm kind of more on the side that I think that he was trying to test like, hey, I'm going to like throw you a stick of dynamite. Do you dare to reach in the crocodile's mouth and take it out? Like, can I trust you to not be a fucking dope and make a dope ass decision, like making this like young hot like PYT that I'm with to like make her an anchor, and when she's not trained to do it, because that was
when she's not trained to do it, do horrible audition.
Yes. and
awkward, stilted, and capable of because like you have to put time into that. Like these
yes,
national anchors you see have all come up through the trenches of doing local news,
yes,
and stuff like that.
it's a real legitimate skill. It's like a form of acting. It's a form of like presentation.
Yeah.
And you have to be trained to know how to do this. And that's the thing is like I'm sure like I gotta give the actress credit for this because she did a great job of like doing like I think she looked at some old
Yeah,
like,
she's a good actress who was pretending to be a bad actress, which is
yes,
itself a subtle skill.
like
I thought she did a good job at.
like I've seen footage of like old like newsreels of people like in training to do this, and it's like it's definitely like that. Like it's like kind of like watching like bad acting reels where you see people like make these kind of mistakes you don't see like other professionals make, but they're making it because they're learning, and it's
just like it's shit like not being conscious of like where your arms are.
Yes,
like I would be like
smiling
like despite what we're doing right now, I would generally be a terrible on-air personality because I am completely oblivious to how my body is arranged.
Oh, I'd be doing crazy Tucker Carlson shit. Like
I'd be doing like because even like while we're talking, I'll be doing stuff like that. I'd be like doing the news and being like, "Yep, so it's like this." And it's like, no, dude, you can't just show everyone your armpits on national television.
Yeah, I feel like I'd make like weird like Tucker Carlson faces and like do all those things like. Oh, really, huh? Well, I guess I never thought of it that way. Well, okay, Jesus Christ, but moving on. Like anyway, I kind of felt bad for watching it, and like there's scenes where like Jerry and Hugo were like, they're in the conference room and they're laughing at.
Yeah, we see Jerry and Hugo laughing at it. We see the kids watching it over and over again, laughing at it.
Yeah, and so that makes me pretty sure that like Logan knows it's shit. But I think that he's just trying to be like, hey, Tom and said, like, how reliable are you guys for me to let you run this? Obviously, they're not. Like, obviously, like, I can't trust you to do it. Like, if I bring some fuckhead in here, you're gonna yes man him if he has terrible ideas. You don't have an instinct.
Right, but he wants to bring Roman in here, who we know is a terrible like person for this job.
But Roman, I feel like with Roman, he thinks that Roman might listen to him. And I think that's like the problem because like Tom is like the problem is that like Tom will still just follow marching orders and like not question dumb shit and like basically hide shit from him and pretend things are okay and stuff. And I think that's like one of the things like if you're a boss and you walk around and you're trying to walk around the floor, I think what you're really trying to do is you're trying to test your managers and you're trying to see like, okay, like what shit are you hiding from me? Like what shit are you hiding from me that like I can sniff out? I think that's kind of Logan's like purpose. Like like that's his that's his goal in these scenes is to like sniff out where the weakness is, like see where he can see where like where the ship is leaking and patch it up.
Yeah. Oh, one last comment Logan made during this ATN thing that I love. I think you would get a kick out of this. Where he's watching that guy type out a single email. And he said a bunch of fucking staccanovites that we have around here. Do you know what staccanovites are?
Is that something to do with like a slow stenographer?
No. What a staccanovite is actually it's a term from the USSR. Stakhanov was like a urban legend in Soviet mythmaking of like he was the worker who could do the work of 10 men. He was the pure Soviet worker, the engine of Soviet might. Oh, okay. And so the ideal for a Soviet worker was to be a Stakhanovite, like a fast, efficient worker. Okay. And so when he said like bunch of fucking Stakhanovites that we have here, he's being deeply sarcastic. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I don't hear Logan make a whole. I mean, Logan does like his occasional socialist, like likes to like his like not socialist. Like he likes his historical terms.
Yeah.
Like he also refers to the other siblings to Roman as Jacobites.
Yes.
He's like, you're different than these fucking Jacobites here. So like,
which the kids are not Jacobites. Like
the what?
The kids are not Jacobites.
Not at all. But that's for Logan's purposes of like them trying to behead the king. I think it was
for sure.
But no, he did like that. But anyway, what we're getting into about Carrie and the ATN offices was Greg was assigned to do some Tom's dirty work of telling Carrie that she will not be a news anchor in ATN, and Greg also pulls off a wonderful job of doing something so horribly and botching it so perfectly, like in terms of how he used his body language, how he was stuttering, and how this interview with the person was falling the fuck apart as you really truly see a worm with a killer, and and the worm is meant to like kill the wolf. And the killer wolf is not going to take it, sniffs out the fear right away, gets right to the core issue, smells the bullshit, cuts it really deep, knows everything was what he's saying is a lie, and lets him know that, oh yeah, I'm coming for you now. Like you're leaving with an enemy, a very strong and powerful enemy.
But based on, so by the time she and Logan are with the kids, Carrie knows that she's not about to become a ATN anchor. So I feel like as soon as she left the room with Greg, maybe she was all fired up and on the way to visit Logan. But then she was like, no, that wouldn't have happened without Logan say so.
Yeah.
Like Greg and Tom aren't the type of people to be making moves like that if it didn't come from Logan.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the thing. That's to make her like a more dangerous character.
No, and it's like I've heard some quite like why she wanted to become an ATN anchor in the first place, and I feel like in some way it was to get herself a measure of a station independent of Logan, which feels weird to say. It feels weird to say given like the inherent nepotism of like her getting there, but like think about like all these executive types who have been just like arbitrarily fired. Like Kendall and Roman were both top level executives in the company at the beginning of the show, and they were just both arbitrarily fired after pissing off Logan.
Yep.
Like Frank and
Frank's been fired many
times.
Frank's
been fired many times. like all those people have been fired so many times that like if she's like, if I'm on TV and I build my own right wing fan base, then he won't be able to fire me.
Oh, she's thinking that she can be Megyn Kelly. Like that's
exactly.
That's what she's thinking. And of course, like how things ended up for Megyn Kelly. I mean, I'm not sure if is she still on? Is she still anchoring out there?
I have no idea.
Exactly. Like, I mean, that's the thing is that like I haven't heard of her. I know Jen Psaki is like out there doing shit, like is out there on news stations and stuff, which is like still corrupt and fucked, but it's like she's more relevant than Megyn Kelly is.
Yeah, she has a talk show.
Okay. Well, damn. Well, shit. I'm surprised she has a talk show. I'm surprised anyone takes her seriously because she seems like Coriolanus to me. Like, I don't know how anyone would want to take her seriously.
Yeah, it's
like the person that's just like, no, I'm a conservative. The Republican Party's right. Oh no, Trump's sexist. I'm like, oh well, that's your limit. Like that.
Okay. Oh, I'm sorry. Her talk show was on Sirius XM, so she's really more of like in the podcast.
So she's
more like the podcasting.
Yeah, she's irrelevant.
For sure. She's not on national television.
The service that people usually get to listen to Howard Stern, which no one gives a fuck about anymore. Like, she's irrelevant. Like, and then we're saying that with our one loyal federal listener listening to us. But like, hey, I'll say it from the mountains loud and proud that Sirius XM irrelevant. But what are you gonna do with that? But anyway, yeah, I think that Carrie's gonna give us some more fun scenes in the future, and Greg gave us a fun scene with that too. We also get to the siblings. Going back into Succession, we're getting to the siblings. The siblings are supposed to go to a wedding rehearsal dinner for Connor and what's her name? Willa. I was almost gonna call her Wanda. But first of all, the siblings get there late because like their dad like makes sure they don't have a helicopter to get there.
Yeah.
So they get there late, and so fashionably late that they've missed most shit. And when they get to the venue, Will is walking out with a bunch of drunk girls, and Willa Willa is like all out of sorts right now, like all fucked up, and all the siblings are wondering like what's going on. And then they go to see their distraught older brother Connor, meekly sitting there, like at like almost reminded me of like a high school cafeteria table where he's sitting there by himself.
Yeah, it's a weird scene because it's this huge ass ballroom in this fancy hotel, and it's just him at this table, and then Willa's mom, who like I hope we get to see more of Willa's parents in the next episode. I'm intrigued. You know, maybe it's just like I'm always intrigued about like the interactions of ordinary people with this world, but like I would like to see more because really we just get a head shake from her. I don't even know if we get a line from her.
Yeah, most of like the working class people in this show like have like are considered like no was it like no person of interest like most of the time no real person of interest.
No real person.
Real person of interest, like that kid who ended up getting killed by Kendall Roy in the first season. Like so most of the time that does happen. You kind of get your working class people like thrown aside. However, to our presidential nominee in the making,
1%, baby.
Polling 1%.
In the conversation.
He's in the conversation. Connor Royce wanted to like take out his grief and his grievances by going out with his siblings to like a regular working person bar, where men, as you quoted earlier, Tim, were with guys who work with their hands, with chicks, with dudes with blood in their hair who smell like grease.
Well, and like I love the way it starts, where like he just kind of like awkwardly wanders over to his siblings and he's like, so how about it? Karaoke, huh? And it's like he clearly has like not only has he never been to karaoke, but he's just not experienced in like the basics of how to start social interactions.
So how about it, guys? Let's go.
How about it, guys? Karaoke, huh? It's like no one was talking about karaoke.
Couldn't express that, hey, I would like to do some karaoke, but just suggested as and like we're all down for this, right? And no, because he wanted to go there because it looks fun in the movies, and he wants to have like that fictional. I mean, I think it's kind of similar to like how like some men end up viewing like marriages, where it's like, well, I have like the hot, like this picture perfect girlfriend or wife, and I'm trying to, you know, and like my career is really on the path up there, and like Connor's trying to build that like picture perfect like image of like I think what he saw in movies in his head of like here's what a person in my position like should have and be like, when it's like he's like another nepo baby who's quite literally like never achieved like anything,
right? And like, you know, he has no friends. He has zero friends. The only people he's with the night before his wedding are his shitty siblings who just joke about how his fiance is fucking other dudes with bigger, younger, thicker dicks than him.
With the most liberal and the only woman, the most liberal and like the only woman like in his group of siblings, more concentrating on like the deal that she's trying to blow up because she's all emotional.
Right. I know, and there is that moment in the bar where he's just like, yeah, you guys fucked it up. Like we were just trying to like I wanted to have like a meal with you guys. And a Belgian beer, like the working man.
And a Belgian beer. Yeah, not Hogarden though. Not Hogarden.
Not Hogarden. Not Hogarden.
Hogarden's good too. What the fuck?
Yeah.
Man? Oh, but like, yeah. Like he just wanted to be like a regular working man, and he still couldn't have that. Kendall also got a call from what's his name?
Madsen.
Yeah, he had a call from Madsen, with Madsen basically giving him the pressure, the kick in the ass that like really the siblings kind of.
And I feel like I don't know how to feel about this because like, while yes, in every other single like business moment of the show, Logan's instincts have been correct. It really like people who like calling the kids to be like fuck off or the deal's off like that. Yeah. That doesn't really seem to be the actions of a guy who doesn't care, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that. Yeah, I don't think that is. I think I tend to agree with you that like yeah he might not. I'm kind of wondering like why Kendall kind of changed his tune too.
Yeah, it's weird, right? Like I don't know what like the kids originally last season. Their whole idea had been okay. Logan wants to sell, so like we're gonna block this Madsen deal and just try to like get the other board members on board to like let us buy the company and push that out or whatever. I forget the exact details of what their plan was, but basically they wanted to scrap this deal with Madsen and take the company for themselves.
Yeah,
and that's what Logan blocked by going around their backs to their mother. So is it just that Logan believes Madsen when he says that if you try to fuck me on this, I'm gonna walk? And so he sees his chance of like, okay, now we can scrap this deal and we can come in and take the company. Is it more of that like business ADHD that they have?
yeah. I would tend to think it's business ADHD with the siblings because this episode was so focused on like the family drama and like the awkwardness, like especially when they got to the karaoke bar and it's like it's this room, it's like glow, like there's all these colors, all this nightlife.
Yeah, it looks like an obnoxious place to spend an evening, to be honest.
No, I mean honestly, I like karaoke bars and like I would dig a place like that, like because it's like once you're drunk and you're just singing in there and you're just having fun.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Once you're drunk, a lot of stuff becomes
well, yeah, that's what makes karaoke so fun. And it's normally during karaoke you're singing like pop songs. You're singing songs that everybody
You're not singing
knows.
Leonard Cohen dirges. You're not.
No. Right. Like it's like that's the thing. That's like the opposite of what you look for. Like when someone does that, that's usually a cry for help or something. And of course, and I love Roman's reaction, just looking around at that, going like, "This is like Guantanamo shit. Like this is like I just want this to end. I don't want to be in here." And especially like in that room, like with all that lighting, I feel like the mood's more elevated. So like that awkward tension of, oh god. And then when Logan comes in and it turns into like a very awkward family meeting, especially with like Logan looking around and going, this is not the spot for this. Can we talk somewhere else?
Yeah, you wanted to like, can we talk in the back of my limo? Like,
yes. And Shiv being emotional, going, no, we're not leaving at all. We're staying our ground. Where it's like, okay, if you want to have this in like like it's, and that's basically like kind of like, discussing the future of a company in like a McDonald's play palace. Like, like it's like this isn't like the right kind of environment. This is like, I don't want you focusing on this other shit while we're doing all this. Like,
yeah.
So, there's a lot of,
and it seems like I think Logan really believes that Madsen will walk.
Yeah, I think
like that's why he comes to talk to the kids. Like Shiv is absolutely right when she says that what he came there to do is do a business deal.
Yeah.
Here's some pets in exchange for letting this deal go through.
Yeah. And his leverage is something really cheap. His leverage is like, yeah, I'm sorry for a couple things. Like a very
he says I'm sorry about the helicopter, which is that day. Yeah. And then he doesn't actually apologize for fucking them in Italy. He says I had certain intentions and maybe things didn't go the way I thought, or maybe it wasn't received the way I thought. But he doesn't actually say I'm sorry. Yeah, I don't do apologies, but if it means that much to you, I'm sorry. Which is like an all-time, like we insult like celebrity. We talk about celebrity apologies all the time, but like that was an all-time horrible apology.
Yeah, that's a bit worse.
It's so bad at it. It's like, Logan, you're gonna like what fuck this business is the fact that you were just inherently unable to like emotionally connect with any other human being.
Yeah. That's why he has these like wonderful phrases like, "You're my pal, my best pal." To his like
exactly.
weird creepy bodyguard.
To his weird creepy bodyguard who doesn't like him.
Who just does his job and goes home. Oh man, but I mean that's what makes it so hard for like that. That's why his kids hate him like as much as they do. Except Roman.
Kid's puppy Roman.
Yep.
I mean, in a way that like Connor is right. They are all needy love sponges, but Roman especially is yes. I think in a previous season, Logan's ex-wife, Kendall and Shiv's mother, says of Logan, he's never met an animal that he didn't want to kick to see if it would come back to him.
Yep.
And I think for Shiv and Kendall have reached that point of like, you've kicked us too hard, we're not coming back. Roman is the kicked puppy who's going to keep coming back.
Yes. And Connor would, but like he still ain't.
Connor don't need it. Connor is a dead plant who grows in dust and feeds on the bugs that die inside of it.
Oh my
God. Great line.
Such a great line, while like his wife to be is like going out, like getting coked up with her girlfriends, still to come home to the fancy fucking mansion.
Willa comes back. Like, I am intrigued to see more of Willa. I've always liked Willa.
Well,
I've always been intrigued by her as a character.
Me too. One of my favorite moments was in the last season, where like he gave her that, like, was the really awkward Connor marriage proposal, where it was public and in front of people, and like Willa gave him like a backhanded rejection of like not fully rejecting it, but like just not saying yes.
Yeah.
Like not telling him no, but not saying yes. And to the point where like Connor starts acting all emo, like all rich boy emo about it, about going like, you're going to leave me and it's not going to be cool. It's not going to be fun anymore. And Willa kind of pities him and just says, fuck it. How bad can it be? That was her I do, was fuck it. Man, I love how this show uses language. Like, I love how the show uses language.
Yeah.
Oh,
that's gonna be messy. And
then, my God.
Yeah. Like we get after that meeting with Logan, we get Kendall looking like post orgasmic in his car. Shiv looking like thinking deeply about deeply hurt by this divorce bullshit that Logan pulled on her.
Well, the Tom and Logan. We forgot to mention that like Tom ended up like swiping all the divorce lawyers in New York City,
which is apparently a Logan classic when divorcing a woman.
I mean, from a tactical standpoint, it makes sense.
It does, because there's only so many lawyers in any given city that I imagine, where you trust them to handle potentially tens of millions, hundreds of millions, billions if this deal goes through.
Well, I imagine
dollar value divorce.
I imagine just in the state of New York, there's only so many lawyers you can go to, but the best ones are all in New York. And like, once you're out of that cream of the crop, like the other ones don't quite add up. So as
a high stakes negotiation. I'm sure they had a prenup, but it could get messy.
Well, that's the thing, is that like, I think I recall them in earlier seasons, Tom saying like, oh, we don't need the prenup. Like, I'm just
right.
Like, right. We just let like, smart guy.
If this divorce goes through after whatever the fate of Roy Star Waco is, then that divorce could potentially be sending some hundreds of millions of dollars old Tommy Boy's way.
Especially if he can prove.
You'll love to see it.
Especially
if he can prove infidelity and all of that. Yeah.
Yep, and I think he's going to be able to. I think like there's some sneaking suspicion that I think he'll be able to find some things. But
then the last scene is Logan putting the hard push on Roman.
Mm-hmm.
He invokes. I mean, we will see what happens with ATN, but Logan is definitely throwing around the Nazi language, saying that there's a night of 1,000 knives,
night of long knives.
Which of course refers to Hitler's move to purge German politics of anyone who opposed him,
including those in his own party,
especially those in his own party.
Yeah, especially those. Yeah. Who, but definitely some classic tyrannical shit in this episode. Honestly, like one of the episodes that I'm kind of like, it's like on the level of like of the Panic Room episode, of on the same level of those type of episodes for me. Just some really classic moments, some unforgettable little lines there, some nice character. Some nice character depths there where you get to see, like, I mean, especially from like characters like Connor and Willa, who like, are, compared to like, Kendall's arcs and stuff are kind of like usually seen as side pieces, but there is a lot more focus on it this episode. Like Kendall was kind of thrown to the side this episode, which
Kendall was just chilling. And
Yeah.
like one detail I noticed on a rewatch, Kendall isn't drinking. I think Kendall, they have always,
really?
They haven't really, ever since like season 2 or so, they haven't really put that much of a spotlight on whether Kendall is, using or not at any given moment. But if he orders a club soda at the bar,
Okay,
and he's pouring champagne at the karaoke place, but he's always handing the glasses off. You never see him drink anything.
mm-hmm.
And I feel like that also plays into that shot of him in the car just looking like so satisfied, so orgasmic, because like, if he's not on his, drinking and drugs train, then I think fucking his dad is like the closest thing to an intoxicant that he has left in his life.
Pretty much. It's the only thing that's able to kind of make him feel justified about all these things that he's done. Like he can't do like the fake SJW thing. He can't do, he can't do like, I'm gonna fight my dad morally. He's kind of accepted that like, no, I'm this and I want to be out, but if I can't be out, then like I at least want to fuck him.
Yeah.
which is sad because it's like you could just get out. Like you could just
get out. Like they all could just get out, but the company, the station, the life has a pull to it. Yeah. And especially if it really is back to he wants to take over the company.
Yeah.
Which is of course been his goal since season 1, episode 1. But like if he sees scrapping this Madsen deal as his way back to controlling the company, then it's just man, you really are stuck in this tragic cycle.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's what I like about this show, man. It's like there's still so many paths, so many ways that this can go for all these characters.
Yeah, we have 8 more episodes left of the series, and really an infinite universe of possibilities for how all of this could shake out. Like, is Logan gonna die?
Yeah.
Is Logan gonna die in like episode 5 or 6? Is he gonna pull a House of Dragons and just drop dead before the last few episodes of the series?
That'd be cool. I mean, I don't know, man. We can see a lot of things. Carrie could stab him in the back. We never know.
Yeah.
But I'm excited. I'm excited to see like how it's going on with just how politics are developing too.
Carrie just like poisons his drink one night. Like,
yeah.
Oh man. Yeah, it'll be fun to see.
It will be. But honestly, man, I think that's about it for this week.
Yeah, I think that does it for us. So until next time. Oh, keep working.
Keep on working.
Back on my feet, that is, if you even can.
Don't fly that home.